Joe Biden yesterday met with a caucus, if you will, of 10 Republican senators. They were going to pitch Joe Biden on a significantly smaller COVID relief bill for the American public. The number 10 is important here because last week or the weeks prior, we saw a gang of 16, which included 8 Republicans and 8 Democrats. The problem with that calculation is 8 Republicans are no more valuable to the Democrats in terms of passing anything than is 1 Republican, or frankly, no Republicans. You need 10 Republicans to come in. And so the Republicans showed up with 10, but to get those 10, they basically need to deny the American public the relief that they need. Here is Jen Psaki. She is the spokeswoman for the Biden administration in the White House press room discussing the meeting between Biden and the Republican Go Small caucus.
It's an exchange of ideas, an opportunity to do that. This group obviously sent a letter with some outlines, some top lines of their concerns and their priorities, and he's happy to have a conversation with them. What this meeting is not is a forum for the president to make or accept an offer. So I think that's important to convey to all of you. And his view, it remains what was stated in the statement last night, but also what he said on Friday, which is that the risk is not that it is too big, this package. The risk is that it is too small. And that remains his view, and it's one he'll certainly express today.
Cautious optimism. That's my takeaway from these first few weeks of the Biden, or less than 2 weeks of the Biden administration.
Right. I think that is that is definitely the theme, 12 days in. And what Psaki is doing there is she's doing 2 things. Really, actually 3 things. One is she is making it clear that the Biden administration is doing their best to hear the Republicans out and is at least open to the idea of a reasonable compromise. 2, she's also making sure that expectations of these meetings are correct, which is that if Biden doesn't make a deal with them, he is in no way changing up his perspective on this. This is a meeting to hear them out, to show them respect, to tell them that they are part of the process if they want to be part of it. But here's the bottom line: is the polling is very, very clear on this. Over 60%, I think it's 67%, according to Vox and the Data for Progress. 64% would back more coronavirus relief, even if it means doing it through budget reconciliation. So Joe Biden, and I'll tell you the third thing that I think is happening, and if you're like me and you listen to the radio in the morning or whenever you can, you hear those like little briefs. Sometimes they do them by the AP, sometimes they do them by different networks, whatever it is. The way this is being articulated is the Republicans want to provide less relief for the American public. It is very rare where you have such a stark and really, frankly, obvious conflict, which is the Democrats want to give Americans more money to deal with this coronavirus, which I think the vast majority of Americans are looking around. They're looking at record unemployment. CBO just came out today saying that we're not going to get to pre-COVID levels of unemployment probably in this decade. They're looking at businesses that are going out of business. They're looking at people who have lost their health care. They are looking at kids who can't go to school. They're looking at a botched vaccination rollout, frankly, a botched dealing with this pandemic. And they're crying out for relief. And the bottom line elevator pitch story that is now out there, that is enhanced by Joe Biden inviting these people to the White House, is that Republicans are coming to argue for less help for the American public, and Democrats are arguing for more help for the American public. That's a good top line for the vast majority of Americans who don't pay attention to politics like anybody watching this show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we talk a lot about how the Biden administration seems to have learned from constantly caving to Republicans during the Obama years and how that slowed the economic recovery significantly from the Great Recession. But the media seems to have learned a tiny bit too. And yes, there still is a lot of, we talked about other cable coverage yesterday. Compromise for compromise's sake, which is embedded in the questions that they're asking of these politicians. Like, why can't you compromise? Why can't you be bipartisan? But there is less of that. And I think the gravity of this pandemic, the economic fallout paired with the death rate and the just constant uh, weight and baggage that people are feeling of the situation, I think that's even affected the media too. And also, they are holding the Republicans accountable a little bit more after Trump, because the honeymoon period's over for them and this Republican Party, at least for the next few months. And like, we should just quickly talk about the substance of this $600 billion package proposed by these Republicans.